Welcome everyone. This is the Reverend CEO, aka Cynthia Petion, wife, mother, business coach, mentor, and evangelist. And I want to thank you for joining us today. So again, the overall theme of the show is for us to talk about faith and business, and if one conversation leans more towards business and faith or vice versa, it's totally fine. Mm-hmm. I want this to be an opportunity for us to do a couple of things. One, to act as mentors and coaches and give people some much needed advice. But I kind of feel like when people join these types of businesses that we tend to be involved in, there's kind of like a bigger picture. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that people understand the power that they have or is given to them to be able to produce wealth, stuff like that. So I want to use this program as a way to elevate people so that they have the faith they need, the confidence they need to know that they can elevate their lives. And in doing so, help others do the same. You, Brother Newman, we have with us Brother Newman Madzikwa of Zimbabwe, a 43-year-old married father of 3. And you are a pharmacist by profession. And you say that you've been ministering the Word of God now for over 20 years. And the question I have for you is, why don't you tell us a little bit about your walk in faith? Were you always a believer? Did you start at a young age? Did it come to you later? And how much of it affects your daily decisions and things that you do day to day?
Thank you very much. I was not born a believer. How I wish I was a believer much earlier in my life. I began the work of faith at the university. I think I was 20 when I began wanting to understand this Word of God and being a believer. I remember there's someone that was preached that really made me ask a lot of questions was, I give you the keys of the kingdom. And, I was asking myself after the preacher had finished, I said, he says, I have the keys. How come I've never really had the keys to what I want in life? And then I began to ask myself about these keys of the kingdom. And then eventually one thing led to another, and I eventually got to understand the Word of God. I really started from Genesis to Revelation, I think 3-4 times in my early Christian walk. And it helped me understand what faith is, in that faith is premised on a promise. Without the word, you cannot talk about faith. You cannot talk about believing if a word is not spoken. And the beauty of it is, it's not about evidence that you see. It's just about the word that has been spoken. You need to hold on to the word. So I've gradually gotten to accept and believe that as long as I don't hold on to a promise, I will not be able to exercise my faith or stand on my faith.
Nice. All right. Thank you very much for that, Brother Newman. Next, we have with us Brother Vincent Thomas of the USA, New York specifically. So, Vincent, you are 60 years of age, married with 4 kids and 5 grandkids. You also own your own personal business, Long Island Bottles and Cans. And you say that you like being a servant of the Lord and a family man, and that you truly believe in giving back. And I want to ask you, what's the most important factor as a businessman and a man of faith that when you meet someone, because I've been on a lot of your shows and casts and meetings, and you're always extremely active and trying to help somebody. And what is the most important thing to you that when you meet somebody and you want to offer an opportunity, what's your end goal, or what is it that you're trying to achieve in that relationship with them?
Good one. First of all, thank you. My end goal is just to let them know that I'm there for them with no strings attached. What I give is because I'm giving from my heart. I don't expect anything in return. I'm doing this to benefit them. It brings me just the same way when I am involved in church. I was grown up as a Catholic, as we said, but I was born into the Baptist church, and being involved because of my son growing up. I started to walk this way when a deacon of the church asked me to drive one of the vans and with the seniors. And I'm like, drive seniors? Are you kidding me? You want? And then he said, yes, I need you to do it. And I believe that he was doing this on purpose. But once I got to start driving for them, and they were paying me to do this. I actually took on the mission and said, listen, I don't need to get paid. They said, what do you mean? No, I said, no, I like doing this. And I'd rather you keep the money for the church because I really enjoy doing this. And then from there, I began to walk with the food pantry, and I began to pick the seniors up, not only taking them, to church, but now taking them to where they have to go, because I really wanted to give back. And because I was never afforded that opportunity growing up, and no one has ever done that. And for me to do it, it felt really good. And then it went on to even business-wise, where you don't even have to be with me. I was just there to help you. You could be in any kind of business. It's just the point of just being able to give without receiving anything back. And that's just the way I am now. And the more you do it, the more you benefit from it, from the Lord, because I truly am blessed. I am blessed because I do things for Him. As I tell everybody, I'm a servant of the Lord, and that's what I am now.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, next we have with us Dr. Boris Darmont of Peru. But I wanted to kind of touch on your resume for a moment, because, in order to preface, our discussions, I wanted to learn a little bit more about each of you guys. And when I asked, what it is that you do, I was like blown away at all the different things that you do. You're first 59, married with 3 children and 6 grandkids. Psychology doctorate, conflict resolution, mediation, theology, even, marriage and relationship health, and a professional certified coach. So I'm curious with all of these different avenues, because it kind of reminded me a bit of my background. I've dibbled and dabbled in a lot of things, and I kind of just do whatever I'm drawn to do. And somehow if I excel in it, I use it, like Vincent said, to help others. But, being a new minister myself, I actually just got ordained December last, a year ago. So, I've just always known to help people, and I've never been overly religious, but I've always been, spiritual and faithful. So, I just got saved in my journey probably about 6 or 7 years ago. But one of the things that I battle with, and I'd like to ask you how you deal with it, is that, because I started off as a profession first, and spirituality or Christianity coming in later, and I have this overwhelming need to share the good news and the gospel, but I don't want to slap people in the face with it. Because I think it can sometimes act as a deterrent as well. Because I know years ago, before I was saved, if somebody started Bible preaching or going a little overboard, to me, it turned me off. And I'm like, here we go. And now that I feel it boiling over in me, it's a little, I sometimes battle and ride that fine line between faith and business and wanting to help somebody and giving them that assurance without going overboard. So my question for you is, with all of these professions and certifications and with all the qualifications that you have, both spiritually and business-wise, how do you use your faith in your profession, or do you? How do you balance the two, so that when you're working with somebody or you are dealing with business, what role does your faith play in it?
Well, thank you for inviting me to this moment. I can tell you first, I come with the family where the business and the spiritual things become together, because my dad was a businessman and my mom at home was a businesswoman also, but with the spiritual influence permanent in our life. The thing with my family is my dad is from Jewish, and then my mom comes with a family with the Adventist church. And then when they become together, my mom's separate a little bit from the church. But my dad, as a Jewish, he said, I want to have a boy and my kids. And then he had a third one, was a boy, Israel, but at 8 months old, he died. And then my dad says, please give me a son, because I need a son to give all this business what I'm building right now. And then my mom, one night, she went back of the house and then she prayed to God and said, God, this is the moment when I ask you to give me a son, because I want him to accomplish with my husband what he wants, but I want to accomplish a promise to you. I want to make him a preacher. How I deal with this with the people when they ask me, hey, Boris, how are you doing your profession and business and faith? Always I thought, if you don't consider everything you get to God guiding you in your life, and everything what you do, whatever you do, studies, business, and professional work, whatever you do, if you don't keep God in your life, probably whatever you do is going to guide you to the bad areas. You're going to do probably something in corruption or something like that in your life. What I was trying to do is to show the people, if you have a God behind you, supporting your life, whatever you do, profession, business, or spiritual things, you're going to be successful because God is guiding you. When He is with you, on you, and then your life is going to be different. That's what I'm doing right now.
That's amazing. So you bring up an excellent point. So Matthew 6 says, seek the kingdom of God first, and then all other things will be given to you. So
that's right.
If we keep God first in our relationships, in our finances, in our business, and we give Him our time first, and our finances first, and our relationships first, then it's promised that all things will be given to us. I don't know how much people feel that, they have to seek God. You hear a lot of times you have to seek Him and you'll find Him. Sometimes I think He just lands on top of you when you're not expecting it or looking for it. In moments when you're thinking you're walking alone and you're not. But once you open that door and you give yourself the opportunity to let Him in, the floodgates open.
Incredible.
I talk a lot about how, the vision came to me to do this business, for example. We're all participants here in our business at NovaTech. And I talk about how I fell asleep. I kind of woke up and it just hit me that this is what we were going to do. We were going to open up this business. We were going to run it on our own. We weren't going to rely on anybody else. We were just going to figure it out. But what I don't tell most people, I'm glad that we've been able to come together and do this, was that was just kind of like the first message. But a second message, which came, just a few weeks after deciding to start this business, and I don't know if it's because He always knows when there's doubt creeping in or fear or worry, that I was like, well, what the heck did I just get myself into or promise everybody? But I was wide awake. I was brushing my teeth, actually. I just woke up in the morning and I very clearly, heard him speak, and he told me that, now that I've given you the idea of this business, you are going to use this platform to be able to spread the word, because this is how you're going to get people's attention. This is how you're going to help people, and this is how you're going to preach faith and share the good news with people. So I kind of, finished brushing my teeth and was like, okay, now I get it. Sneaky, but I got it.
That's right.
But that's how this, came to fruition. And once it's done, it's done. The word has been spoken. I don't question it. I just follow it. So I find it incredible, because I've never been new in business, but I'm a new business owner. But all tools have been given to us to be able to run a successful business. And He promised us, so long as we use this platform to be able to help others and preach the word and open the doors and save people, that this business would continue to be blessed. And that's the only thing that I can go on. Sometimes I do feel like I'm just going day to day, and whenever you need help, assistance, or word, I just gotta sit quietly. So I think, that particular verse from Matthew 6, adding on to what Boris is saying about seeking the kingdom of God first and all things will be given to you. I would love for people to walk away with that message with us, knowing that all things are possible, because, sometimes people are waiting for something. They're waiting for a movement, they're waiting for a sign, they're waiting for a signal, but the movement is now. We're the movement, right? God talks about us being, a beacon of light, and a beacon of light is not meant to be hidden. It's meant to for the world to shine. And
then took me probably 10 minutes to transfer $5,000 to the business. And after I did that, I prayed. I said, God, you showed me this was as opportunity. Let me do this opportunity, not just for me, also for people, but let me know exactly what I'm doing. I want to know the person who is doing this business. And Gerardo says, let's do business with Saul and CEO. I said, what? Is that true? Yes. He said, yes, let's do it. That's the reason why I believe in God, because God gave me many, many reasons to believe in him. God always was behind me. The old testimony I can give now to the people is, if you believe in God, whatever you want to do, that is good for you and for the people, he's going to help you to do.
We've all, I think, have our fair stories of hardships, and I know, Newman, you and I have also had discussions about some of the stuff you've been going through, and again, just share what you're comfortable sharing. Vincent, I know you recently lost a grandchild in a car accident, and people have a tendency when bad things happen to kind of give up. Vincent or Newman, would either one of you like to offer any kind of suggestions or comments about your experience with that and why you continue to walk in faith?
Sure. Excuse me. When I lost my granddaughter not too long ago to a car accident, I began to lose a lot of faith. And when I got the call in the morning, and from the time we were trying to go see her, and with what's going on right now in the world with the pandemic, we were not allowed to see my granddaughter. Questioning now, why, Lord? She's only 20 years old. Why would you do this? What Lord would do this to us? And I kind of got upset, really, like, I don't want to hear this anymore about this, Lord. You got to believe. I tell people this all the time when they have a loss. You have to believe in the Lord. You have to even keep God closer in your heart. When we had to wait for her, it was pouring down rain. I mean, like pouring. And I always tell people there's a couple of things that's going to determine whether somebody comes to visit you while in your wait. And that's the dash, what you did from the time you were born, from what you did when you pass away, and the weather. And for over 300 to 400 people show up standing in the rain, pouring. I believe it was the Lord showing me, listen, I'm bringing this down to let you know how well your granddaughter was loved, how much she touched people, but she has a better purpose now with me. And I said, now is the time to keep the Lord closer to your heart. So sometimes a bad situation is not a bad situation. It's just the Lord talking to you, and you have to be able to determine whether or not what it is. And I have the Lord even closer to me now, even more than before my granddaughter passed away. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny like that, right? I mean, even if we abandon him He never abandons us.
He never.
No.
He never, keeps us from too far, and he makes sure that no matter what's going on, that we always are receiving his love. So, moments of weakness are meant to be just that. I actually come from a belief that we were all existing and living life in paradise before coming here. I'm not talking about reincarnation. I know that, people have different beliefs and stuff like that as far as being reincarnated. But I'm talking about, when we die and we go to heaven or, paradise, it's a return home. It's not our right. It's not our first time there. It's not our first visit there. There's a reason why I feel that when you meet somebody, you feel like you have a connection, or you have, or they're brought into your life for some reason. These things are meant to make us stronger. I think to have more faith, and to bring people back home that maybe wouldn't return home if we weren't taking the opportunity to spread the word. So I don't miss an opportunity to meet somebody, talk to somebody, because I think that connection was there long before we were here. And I just think it's beautiful that we've even all been introducing to network marketing. Because if you want to find the greatest network marketer on earth, that was Jesus. You know what I'm saying? If anybody was better at bringing people together and spreading the word and growing a network that has lasted for thousands of years, then
that's why people don't understand the marketing, because they don't know Jesus.
When you talk about change, I think this is what we're here to do. We're here to help make a change. And there's certain things that drive people to change. Either you've been hurt enough that you want to make a change. Either you've learned or seen enough that you want to make a change. Yeah, or, maybe you've received so much that you want to make a change. And I think everybody at some point is at one of those pivotal moments in time. And we just need to help find what moment anyone is in at a given time and help them make those changes that will make a difference. Newman, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, like I was saying, that we need to understand and appreciate that nothing happens by coincidence in our lives. I believe that there's a divine orchestration of the Lord to each and every one of us. But God is not someone who is not gentle. He doesn't force us to go through what He has planned us for us. We need to work together with Him to accomplish His purpose. But if I don't know His purpose, if I don't know His plan for me, I will tend to upset the plan myself. So one of the things that I've realized in my life is I believe that I am the light. And I believe that even according to Matthew 5, verse 16, which says, "Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven." So the promise is I have to let it shine, and God will do the rest. Whenever I get into a work setting or a business setup, my intention is to let the light shine through my good works. That's my responsibility. And God will get the glory, and He will make sure that I succeed. What is important is I've identified that there's a place where the Lord is taking me, and that place is wealthy, that place is spacious. It's a Rehoboth place where you are coming to a place where there's no contention. Let me put it that way.
Let me put it that way. Thank you. So next week, if we can schedule for the same time, I'd like to talk about the trust factor next week, and what it takes to actually have enough faith and trust to be able to venture into business. Because, owning and operating a business, whether you're involved in it passively or actively, it requires a great deal of faith and trust. And I think that's one of the things that's lacking quite a bit in our environments in this day and time. So I'd love to be able to add on to that. I want to just say thank you guys for, participating in this and showing interest in it.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Mentor and evangelist. And I want to thank you for joining us today. Welcome everyone to our second episode of Faith in Business. On the line with us today, we have Brother Vincent Thomas of the USA. We have Brother Newman Madzikwa of Zimbabwe, and we have Dr. Boris Darmont of Peru. And we want to thank you for joining us. Today we'll be talking about the concept of failing forward and how you bounce back from past failures, experiences, and not let it affect your future. Because failing is not the opposite of success, it is part of success. So good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
Last week, we started our first episode and introduction into faith and business. Thank you, all of you, for your input. This week, I think it is important for us. We wanted to talk about the trust factor, but a lot of the reasons why people do not trust is because of past experiences. So I think in order to discuss trust and be able to touch on that, we also need to talk about failure and how to fail forward, okay? And the concept of failing forward is being able to get back up and continue after bad experiences. What is it that drives us to continue forward? I'd like to start with Brother Vincent, please. Can you talk to us a little bit about any experiences, past failures that you've had? What is it exactly that helps you keep it together when you feel like you're falling down?
Well, good morning, everybody. Good day. Thanks again for having us on here. As far as failing in past experience, I've been in several different markets. And one of the markets we could say, which I am currently in now, is the investment market, cryptocurrency, Forex. And I've been in this market for about a good 3 years, and I had past experience with failure. Well, if you call it failure, then that's in your mind, but I don't call it failure. I call it a learning experience, but it didn't work out. And I also had people say, "Oh, you didn't learn from your mistakes before? Why are you getting back into this stuff?" And I respond back a lot by saying, "You have a job, correct?" And they say, "Yeah, well, if you get fired, are you just going to go home and put your head under the cover and don't get back out there? You're going to look for another job. I'm looking for more opportunities." And in doing that, you have to have the faith in the Lord within you to know that He has something better and more prosperous for you to be in. So that's a little thing I keep inside of me, to have the faith and knowing that I'll pull through it, because failures are just learnings.
I couldn't agree with you more. One of the things that I like to coach people on and practice in my own experiences is that everything that happens is a part of a learning experience so that you can go on to do better, because living is growing and learning. So without those experiences and those failures, people always look back and say, "Oh, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that." Well, we weren't born with all the knowledge that we need, just all the support that we need. And that is in God, because He's always with us. Excellent in pointing that. Newman, would you like to also talk about any particular failure that you experienced in life and how you came out of it or deal with it so that you can move forward?
Sure. Thank you. Failure is part and parcel of success, because there are so many things that I have learned through my own experience that I would not have even learned, even if somebody had shared with me, because in sharing, there are always certain things that are not said. So sometimes when you go through it yourself, even if I share it right now and tell you these are the lessons I learned, there are some lessons that I cannot share. Probably I don't even know I learned it. But when I come across that same situation, it just comes to my memory again that this is the same as I did this last time. So this caused my failure. I will not do it. I will go this way. The scripture that always comes to my mind is Proverbs 24:16, which says a righteous man falls but 7 times. So it means for you to fall 7 times, you can't fall when you are down. It means you stood up first time, you moved on, you fell again, and I said 7 times, I don't care. I will get to 7 times, then I'll stand up. And it has helped me move on. And one of my mentors actually asked me, I got into this mining venture, and I did, my greatest pain was in the amount of money that I put into it. And I got literally nothing out of it. And when I spoke to my mentor about it, and he said to me, have you ever been to school of mining? I said, no. And then he says, okay, so how do you expect yourself to be successful without going to school? So consider all the money that you lost as school fees. What did you learn? Pick yourself up, go back into mining and see what you have learned and apply your lessons. And that really motivated me. Now, even if I go into another, like investing, and I lose money here and there, I ask myself, did I go to school of investing? No. So this is my school fees. I'm learning. I just wrote an exam. I didn't get 100%. I got 60%. So I can stand up, learn again tomorrow, have another lesson, and move on. And that's how I've kept moving on and believing that, you know, I don't get into a territory just for financial gain. I don't just get into a territory for personal gain. But there is people that are going to be ministered to by my being there, either as an honest business person, as an honest individual, or as a person who will offer a listening ear to somebody who was in a desperate situation, which may not be directly related to the business, but they are facing a life challenge that I will be able to minister to. So I always believe I walk in there as an ambassador, and I do the ambassadorial work over and above the business aspects that I get into.
Excellent. You know what that reminds me of? Psalm 119, where it says, it was good for me to be afflicted so that I can learn your statute. It's good for us to have these learning lessons so that we can further educate ourselves, but also, you know, what are the statutes? What is the expectation of learning these things? You said something very important about not wanting to just enter something for financial gain. I think one of the issues people sometimes fall into, or traps that we fall into when we're starting these new businesses, is of course the financial gain, right? And it's totally fine to get into business to make money. Okay, I mean, people don't work just to work for free. It doesn't even have to be a monetary gain. It just needs to be something that's either going to help me to succeed or be successful so that I can then pass on whatever blessings I'm receiving to others. All right, so Newman brings up a very good point in that, you know, when you're entering into these ventures, it can't just be about the money. What is the expectation? What are we going to do with this? And if people can get away from the losses as far as, oh, I lost X amount of money on this, I lost X amount of money on that. Money is money. I've seen people, and myself included, make it, lose it, make it, lose it, make it, lose it, make it, lose it, lose it. You know what I'm saying? So that it's just a part of life. I don't know why, you know, people feel that if they have money, you can't let go of it. You know, tithing already, the concept of tithing is giving, you know, 10% of everything you have, you know, to God first. And we spoke a little bit about that last week with, you know, making God first and everything. If you put your value in the money only, then that's where your heart is, that's where your treasures are. But if you grasp the concept of doing things with the ability to be able to help others, then it doesn't matter if it comes and goes. The only thing that matters to you is, you know, what can you use it for? And if you fail, it's not your personal failure. It's just a learning experience to do more. Boris, I'd like to talk to you for a moment also about, your greatest failures were, and how it is that you bounce back from it. You don't have to share your greatest. Maybe just one that you'd like to. The greatest may be too big, but maybe just something that sticks out to you as a pivotal moment or a learning opportunity for you and what you did with it.
I was hearing you and Vincent and Newman, and I was trying to think from where the people comes to be trustable or to trust in some system or persons out of them. I was trying to think about that, and most of the people, they think that everything what you start doing has to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Our expectation, you talk about that word, expectation. What the expectation of the people is about business, about persons, about systems, about whatever they want to do. Normally, they expect from you, from the system, from the others, something ideal, perfect. And then when they start from that point, normally they become a people that they say, why I have to do this again? Why I have to trust in Cynthia or Newman? Why I have to trust in the system? Why? And then they try to limit themselves because they are scared about the future. Normally, the people who doesn't know what is coming in the future, what kind of opportunities is opening every single minute, normally they stop themselves to be like in the status quo of the community, those people who doesn't want to fail again. In my experience, normally I was a failure. I'm a doctor of failure always, because I do things and always I'm making mistakes in my life. What I learned in my life is if you don't do mistakes, you're never gonna know exactly where you are. What are you doing? I said, in this world, everybody try to do something and always gonna make mistakes. If I make mistakes and then I know what I did, and then I can start again. That's the point in life. If you don't think that way, probably you're gonna be 50 years away back, and then you're never gonna know exactly what is happening in the world and what the world is expecting from you. Your expectation is gonna move you forward. If not, you're gonna stay there. Don't make your life late, always on time. You have to do something. When you do something, and then you're gonna know where you are, you fail, and then you're gonna know what to do.
Thank you. Vincent, when that moment hits, all right, we've been there before. When that business fails or the rug is pulled out from under you, or even a relationship doesn't work out the way we expect it to, what is it that you focus on the most when those types of things happen? Because I think it's very important for people to know where to place their focus when things don't go the way we expect them to.
What comes to me, focus on the most is trusting in the Lord. You're going into a quiet place, trusting in Him, and say when you ask the Lord to help you, don't start worrying about other things because it'll come to you. Then continue to do what I always do, knowing that I have Him on my side, and with Him on my side, I cannot fail. So that moment is in a quiet inside myself, and believing that all things will happen through Him and with my prayers to Him.
Proverbs 3 verses 5-6, trust the Lord with all your heart and don't depend on your own understanding. Remember the Lord in all you do, and He will give you success. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people sometimes run into, is where you're putting your trust. People trust the word of someone else. They trust somebody on Facebook. They trust somebody that they deem successful and take their word for something. But sometimes it just requires just putting your faith and trust in God, like you said, because sometimes we don't understand. You know, I mentioned last week about just hearing the word or getting a vision or a message, and then just having to go through with whatever it is I was told to do by Him without having to question it or go back on it and wonder, well, that doesn't make sense, or, you know, why are we going through this way? It's not supposed to make sense, you know, so this isn't, you know, we don't get a practice or a trial run before being born. We don't get a manual, right? We can only learn from our own experiences and have trust and faith. Newman, what do you tend to focus on when you have disappointments?
You know, I always draw my strength from biblical stories. You know, I just always want to ask myself questions. What would they have done if they were in my situation? One thing that I've learned in life is that God has given me everything that I need for life and for godliness. Sometimes when I might not have a clear word about a circumstance or a situation, but an opportunity presents itself that meets and matches my passion, my skills, my resources at that particular moment. And I usually take advantage of the opportunity and move in. And suppose I fail, I still go back to the Word of God and ask myself, did I miss something? Because I believe that sometimes if I were to sit and wait for the Word of God for me to start something, nothing will ever happen. I'm reminded of the children of Israel when they were caught up between the Red Sea and the chariots of Pharaoh coming after them. They cried, and Moses went before the Lord, and the Lord said, why are you crying to me? He says, what do you have in your hand? He says, a stick. He says, confront the river. And because God has already put everything we need, whether to run a business, to take advantage of opportunities that come your way, it's about your faith in the one who brought you into this world and the one who orchestrates your pathways, who brings opportunities before you. Sometimes you get into an opportunity and you know it's mine, but you still face challenges and you fail. What we need to appreciate is the fact that this thing is ours. God wants us to have it. But what we lack is the capacity. And God is building our capacity bit by bit.
So Exodus 14:14.
I like that.
Is actually, this was a tattoo I got many years ago when I got saved. But Exodus 14:14, that verse particularly stuck out with me. And it says, the Lord will fight for you. You need only be still. And that is when Moses was leading the people out of Egypt and Pharaoh was chasing them, and they were angry and at Moses, saying, what did you do? Did you bring us out here to die? Because now they're faced with the Red Sea in front of them. And they're like, we could have just stayed home and died back then. At least we would have died in the comfort of our own home. And at that moment, the sea opened up for them to cross it.
But there is something incredible what Moses said.
Yes.
Stay quiet and see what God's gonna do for you.
Exactly.
That's the promise of our sponsor in business, in life, in anything. That's what I like from Moses. Moses said to God, if you don't go with us, we don't want to leave from here. That's the point. Sometimes people have to know to be trust in God and whatever they do.
That's exactly right. Because our tendency is to want to be angry or fight or cast blame. And sometimes we just need to calm ourselves. All right. And have faith and have trust. Now, it doesn't mean to go back and keep making the same mistakes over and over again because you're openly trusting, right? It just means to be able to find a lesson in there and the reason why you're there.
Sometimes the things that you go through for the first time is not actually the way you want to go, but it's a building block. So if you don't learn certain lessons as you are building, your foundation will be faulty. You will not go far. Learn to trust the one who is in control. So what is important is that God is interested in our capacity. Because when we don't have that capacity, that which God would have blessed us with can become our own destruction. Thank you.
I actually saw, I don't know if you guys saw in what I gave you, Proverbs 26:11. Like a dog that returns to its vomit, a fool does the same foolish things again and again.
Again. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And trusting new opportunities or having faith in God doesn't mean that you return to what you did wrong.
That's right.
Exactly.
Right? So it means just having faith to be able to move forward. as children, we're not born with this mindset of fearing failure. We jump in waters and swim. We get up and walk every single day. Even, learning, we crawl, we get up, and before we could run, a child doesn't go from laying on its back to running. It's steps that are taken. And you never see a child fall and get discouraged from it. But we lose that sensibility as we get older.
As we grow, yes.
Right? And we think it's because we're learning from experience, but the only thing we're doing is we're now fearing experience. And we were not brought into this world to be fearful.
Exactly.
There is a point that Newman touched. He said the capacity. Capacity in what? Most of the people, they try to develop or their capacity by themselves, not the capacity to believe in someone. There is some people called me last week. It says, "Do you believe in Cynthia?" It says, "What argument you have to believe in Cynthia? What she is doing?" I said, "This is the second step." Believing, the capacity to believe is because she believes in God, and I know that God, but they're not developing the capacity to believe. You have to believe if you want to be successful in something. Whatever you do, you have to develop that capacity to believe. Next, Joshua, they confess all before the river and then ask to God and says, "God, what I do? Now I believe in you. Now I develop this capacity. I believe in you. What I do? Tell the priest to walk forward." And they walk forward. And then when the water gets over their knees, and then the river stops. God wants us to believe. You have to develop that capacity to believe in who? In Him. He is our better sponsor over Cynthia, over Vincent, over
That's
Nina,
right.
over Boris.
Don't believe in me. I'm just a tool. We're all, we're just all tools here to do His work. And, I don't think, because somebody says they're a minister or a reverend or that you should have blind faith. Because, again, they're a channel. Well, that wraps it up for today. Join us next week on Faith in Business as we discuss discernment, recognizing a good opportunity from a bad one. See you next time. Welcome to another episode of Faith in Business, and in today's segment we are going to be talking about the act or the gift of discernment, which can be used in several different aspects. It's very large in Christianity. When you hear about discernment, it's often referred to as a gift of discernment, where you're able to perceive things a little more in depth than what a normal person, quote unquote, would be able to see, understand, or have the ability to do. It's also referenced also in terms of discernment, what we feel our role here in life is and what God's plan is for us. But the ability to obtain sharp perceptions or to judge well, sometimes confused a lot with being judgmental. Discernment, more so than being judgmental, plays an amazing role in who we are, what we do, and how successful we become. Because if you're not able to make decisions, and if you're not able to judge things correctly, you're likely to continue to fall into certain pitfalls. And we also want to be careful about losing the ability of being discerning for fear that we're being too judgmental.
Discernment is having an ability to have good judgment about things and not necessarily be able to judge people, but you can judge behavior, you can judge thoughts, you can judge things and information that comes to you, but you are not necessarily judgmental about people. I can actually tell a person I cannot do business with you because of 1, 2, 3 things that I sense could go wrong, with which are consistent. There is a thin line between, of course, separating a person from what they do, but I believe that with discernment, it's an ability to take information, look at it, and see beyond just the way it appears before you. And you see things that are not so apparent, and be able to use those to make judgments or decisions.
With discernment also comes action, because you can have all these things in place, but you also have to take action when doing that. Also, it plays a big part in that. And first of all, I told my, you lead from your heart, you lead what the Lord is telling you what to do, because I believe so strongly that He's not going to give you something to put you in front of something that you cannot handle. So these are the steps, and I lay them down, but these are my personal things in whether or not I'm going to make a decision. But once you have them, you actually have to take action. Now you just can't sit on the sidelines.
The discerning is a work, what we do, first of all, in our mind. It's like a theory analysis, what we do in our mind. And then this analysis normally is influenced by experiences in the past, or how we see the forest instead to see only the tree. Most of the people, they judge or they try to discern things using only the tree and not seeing what is in the forest. The big problem, or the thin line between judgment and discerning, is that special thing when, from where I'm trying to analyze what we are trying to understand, in what way I have to decide which is correct or which is not correct. It's very, very thin line where you can pass from discerning to judgment. I think that's a little bit dangerous,
It's a very thin line. When you're writing that line between trying to figure out, okay, am I being judgmental? Am I being too subjective about something? And whether or not you're actually paying attention to minor details. Being discerning can be something as minor as, listening to somebody sing and you can pick up a chord that maybe somebody else can't. But it is something that I think some people might be more inclined or natural, do more naturally. Do you guys think that discernment is something that can be learned? Can we train people to be more discerning?
I believe it. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, they have to learn, because God says if you need wisdom, ask to God. And then if you ask to God to give you wisdom, that means you can learn.
Yes, you can, because just the word itself, when you set it out, I'm like, that's a good one. Now you have to learn what it is, that does it meaning. So yes, you can learn it, and I've learned.
Personally, I think there are two discernments that we can talk about. There is a gift of discernment, where somebody has got, a clear God-given ability to read beyond what we see. But I also believe that each and every one of us can have discernment. That may not necessarily be that apparent gift, like a gift of prophecy, a gift that, that is apparent. But we all can learn to discern. Like Boris said, you learn from your experiences. Sort of like focused decisions to say, if things are flowing this way, chances are very high to end like this or like this, based on experiences and also based from what you've learned.
You hit the nail on the head when you said one particular thing just there, and that is taking the knowledge and experience of other people as well and combining it in order to be able to bring it almost to like a higher level, because everybody has their own gifts, their own thing that they're good at. People like to equate, people being smart with IQ intelligence, right? Being analytical, mathematical, how well you speak, what schools did you go to. But there's such thing that we call here also, street knowledge, right? Or things that you have to experience. I've always been of the belief that I can't learn through other people's mistakes or experiences. I've always said, you know what? I can't look at somebody make a mistake and then that becomes now my learning experience. But I've kind of grown to think differently now. You can watch somebody make a mistake over and over again and start to think to yourself, well, maybe that's something I shouldn't be doing because it's not working for you. But again, it requires a certain sense of discernment because you need to understand, well, what is it about what it is that you're doing that's causing you to fail? Is it the act itself, or is there something else going on that's not causing it to jive? Which is the reason why when people tell me, you've done this business before, it doesn't work. You've done this business before, it doesn't work. Why do you keep doing it? Or you told me about this one, it didn't work, so the next one's not going to work. That is not discernment. That is putting stuff into a big boiling pot, mixing it all together and saying it's all the same. I think people can learn to differentiate what worked in one and what worked in another. What is it about the concept that's not making it work for you? So that you can learn to find the right business or the right opportunity so that it does work.
You touch a very important issue when you said a lot of people can tell you why you continue doing something which is not working. And the thing is, normally the people that are judging, in that case, are judging your acts, but they are not judging what you have in your mind. What is your purpose to do this business to work? There's people a lot just seeing your actions, your whatever you are trying to do to make successful in something which they don't know exactly what are your intentions. When you work discerning, you work your intentions, your experience in the past, and then you value which is good or not, and you see a little light where away from you, and then you said, I think this is the way, and then how to get there. I told before, I said, if you, the verse in James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives you generously to all without reproach.
Our primary focus is purpose. Yes, the reason why I'm saying this is, suppose I'm in a business and I want to expand my business, and I believe God has given me this idea, and I believe God wants me to expand it. Then I meet person X, and person X says to me, I want to join you. I can help you take this business to a new level altogether. I sit back and I ask myself, is this the right person to do business with? I then begin to go back to purpose and go back to God. And I can actually, at that point, God can tell me that no. Because when it comes to these things, it's not about the appearance. You know, you spoke about the issue of the heart, what's driving it. You cannot do this discernment outside the purpose giver, the one who gave the purpose for that which you are doing, who is God. And then you let it pass, and you can have people telling you you've missed an opportunity of a lifetime. But in actual fact, because you are linked up with God and lined up with God and in line with your purpose, the right time and at the right place, the appropriate partnership comes up and it blows you off. And you can actually see that it's not about me here. It's about the one who's driving this purpose.
What do you guys look for when somebody comes to you with an opportunity? What is it that drives you to trust somebody, not trust somebody, to think it's a good opportunity or know that it's a bad one? What resonates with you? What's sending the sirens off when you hear and see these different opportunities?
There's a lot of people coming to us now, or coming to me, I should say, because of the way that things are going right now in life in general, meaning cryptocurrency, Forex, trading. It's a buzz in everybody's ears. And a lot of people are using that to prey on those that are not knowledgeable, those that do not think before they leap, that get into certain things because of their circumstances. And I tell them, don't let your judgment be because of your circumstance, because you didn't get into this overnight and you're not going to get out of it overnight. So there's a lot of things, like, for instance, I look at it, for instance, like, for one, Do you have, what criteria does it take to actually make the money? And do they guarantee you? When somebody tells you I can guarantee you, that's a big stop sign right there. Let's hope, let's retract, let's think about it. If they was to shut the doors and don't let nobody else in, will they still be able to obtain and make money? That's a thing that I look for. If they can't say yes, then they're not really investing your money.
I'm gonna give you just one thing. Whoever helps you to be close to God and make His will, and then that's gonna be the best. Every time I take some opportunities in my life, I ask, if this helping me to be a servant of God, to be more Christian, to elevate my feeling about God, my spiritual life, is this business helping me to be more servant of God and be more close to Him, I'm gonna do it. You have to be very, very discerning what God wants for you. If this is a continue helping you to be doing God's will, and then helping your family being more Christian and be more spiritual, I think you are in the good right path.
This is very exciting. If you know your purpose, every tool that is coming to you must be driving you and helping you to address your purpose. So sometimes it's important that you separate your purpose from your circumstances to make permanent decisions based on temporary situations, and that usually is a cocktail for disaster. Purpose goes beyond your circumstances. Situations can change, but purpose will always be consistent. If circumstances were to change today, would you still make the same decision?
That is an excellent, excellent point. Take yourself out of your current situation. If everything was quote unquote perfect, the way you want it, you have as much money as you need to feel comfortable. I ask people all that question all the time. You know, I want to be rich, I want to have money. Well, at what point are you, how much is enough? At what point are you comfortable? At what point are you okay without having to worry and make these rash judgments or poor judgments because you feel like you don't have enough? I'll tell you one thing about having money. It's never enough. You have to be comfortable with your situation, no matter what it is at that given time. Because you can make more. I can make $1 million this year. And then next year so far, I don't know, $1 million doesn't go that far. Let's try to make 3 million. You make your 3 million, you're like, it doesn't quite buy me that plane or that helicopter or that boat that I wanted. But there's always going to be a bar to push. And I think that's fine. That's fine that people want more and want to continue to grow. But no matter what your situation is, you have to be comfortable in that situation enough that it doesn't cause you to make wrong or bad decisions, but you have to be uncomfortable enough that it makes you want to move forward. Mm-hmm. Okay. You know, I'm of the belief that no one is superior on this planet. Everyone plays a role. Like I said, some may have more education than others, some may have more money than others, you know, whatever. But I treat everybody and feel that everybody is equal. We're all born into life with the same equality. Maybe not financially, maybe you're born in a different hood or a different neighborhood or you know, whatever than I am. However, it all starts here. Poverty is a mentality.
Yes.
Okay. The same thing with being rich. It's a mentality. All right. There's no reason why one person can succeed and another one doesn't. Outside
there's opportunities.
Your opportunities. Yes. A lot of things are about being in the right place at the right time, but sometimes you're in the right place at the right time and you don't realize it. And that's when the act of discernment becomes very important as well, because you need to be able to recognize it. And as Vincent said, act on it. Right. So even if it doesn't seem obvious, that's where you have to fine tune it to say that this is not an obvious opportunity, but there is something here. And I think sometimes we have to first start with getting rid of the noise. All right. Because if you're unable to think clearly or silence yourself at some point so that you can hear better, then everything just becomes noise. You have your neighbors who are going to want to tell you what to do. You have your parents who are going to want to tell you what to do. You have teachers or whatever. School traditionally does not tell you how to make money.
Exactly.
They educate you on whatever they have in their curriculum that they're supposed to educate you on.
Academic things only.
What is the downfall of the education is that when you begin to limit yourself to what you learned, but it's supposed to open you to learn anything. I always tell people that if you respect me for what I do today, and you think this is all me, you are mistaken, because tomorrow I can learn a new skill and do it. Because the fact that I went to university shows that I am teachable, I can learn, I can apply myself to an effort.
Are you teachable? I love that.
Exactly.
Are you teachable? As a CEO and as a leader, a coach, a mentor, and a lot of you guys do the same thing. Sometimes when you're talking to somebody and you're trying to give them a certain type of view or try to teach them something, and they're insistent on doing things their own way, or how they know it or how they've learned it. And it's very difficult trying to break that mold sometimes, especially dealing in an international business. I hear this all the time. Well, that's not how we do things around here. Well, you don't understand because things are different here. Is what's going on here there for you? Is it working? And that's the first thing you got to look at. Is what you're doing working? Because if it's not, then you need to do something differently.
You try something else.
You have to be able to be teachable. And that sometimes means having to listen to somebody who knows something more about that topic than you do. I don't know everything about everything. I remember one time I got scolded because I was doing a conference, and I made a comment about how I never became a doctor or a nurse because I didn't want to be tied into a job that, one, kept me away from my family for endless hours at a time, because most doctors and nurses work extremely long hours. I said, but I'm also not the type of person who likes to care for sick people. That's not what my gift is. My gift is not being a caretaker. I care how people live. I care that people know that they can make their lives better, but I'm not a nursemaid. I got scolded after the meeting for saying so, because, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a wife. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Different culture, maybe different, whatever. But I didn't know I came here to take care of the sick. I thought I came here to teach you how to make money. I don't need to give an impression of something that I'm not. And I think in the act of being discerning, again, not being judgmental, we do need to some degree need to be able to read people, or at least understand where their heart is, or where their head is, or where it is that they're going. And the best way to do that, guys, and this is the way that I do it, I'd be interested to hear from you how you do it, but I let people speak before I say a word. And I watch them very carefully when they do speak. Do they make eye contact? I don't trust anybody who doesn't make eye contact. Sometimes it's a sense of nervousness, but I need to make eye contact and a strong handshake. I know that's very bizarre, but I don't like to shake somebody's hand for them to have a weak handshake, because there's strength that resonates through you. And if you're asking me to do business with you and you can barely shake my hand, I often take that as a bad sign. But there's just certain things that if you just sit quietly and just pay attention to, you start to keen in and learn these different things that you'll start to notice are little threads that are common within people who are successful, people who are not, people who are positive and people who are negative, people who care about you and people who don't. And it all starts with just sitting quietly and listening to people carefully as they speak. And through that, they're always going to show themselves at some point. They're always going to show what's important to them. And that's when you can start to learn how to decipher and see these things in other people that you speak to. It's very important, I think, especially in doing business and being a proper Christian, that you learn to not pass judgment, but to know what the intention is of the person that you're with. And if they're not leading you in the right direction, or they're looking out for their best interest. Yeah, what's wrong with helping myself by helping you?
Most of the people who think about that, Cynthia, is because the academic system, the society where we live right now, think the academic is the most important in life and for everybody. Yeah, the most wrong thing what the academic does is to inquire you in between things that if you want to leave from there and then you are wrong, that's the only right thing to do. And then how to break down. I think what the academics should do and ask is not to find and discern opportunities, is to make opportunities also. That's what you are doing. You are opening opportunities for the people. That's the way how we can teach them how to be successful in life.
In creation, is that you have to have a certain level of intelligence or academics or whatever else, and that somehow puts you up on a pedestal. Everybody has a level of academics. So we need to understand that everybody has their own way of learning, right? And as a leader, and if you're going to be successful in any business, you have to understand that people learn differently, and try to key in on how it is that they learn best, so that we can teach them. You know, so turning back to the business aspect of things. All right, what are things to look for and avoid in a proper business? And I'd like for each of you actually to kind of touch on that for just a couple of minutes. What do you look for specifically, and what do you avoid specifically? I know Vincent touched on it a little bit also, but if you guys can get a little bit more specific, I think it would help our listeners quite a bit in at least getting on the right track to being, you know, a very discerning business person.
I think it's very important to look at the systems that are being proposed into a business, systems that are sustainable and that are clear and easy to replicate, so that you can look at potential expansion.
Coming from a traditional business that I own, the recycle business, some of the things I've looked for when I first started out was, is it a doable business? Is everybody doing it? No. As far as that, is it a business that is sustainable? I look at that, and then how profitable can it be? And the most important part, again, is it hard work? Because believe me, all things is hard, but do I have to work my whole life just to get the business to run?
Boris, what about you?
Yeah, in my experience, I in my life, many times I was following what the others were doing and saw them if that was profitable for them, and I can do the same thing. And then at the end, I became to think this: why I don't follow what the Bible says? No, I have to follow what God said. You told me the last time about that verse. If you follow to find God, the rest is going to be itself in you. That's the way we have to do. And God, please come to me and tell me what to do. You know what? He shows you. He shows you. If you are in tune like a radio with God, He tells you exactly what to do. And the following steps, you're going to see how He is doing things.
But there's no way you're going to tell me in this life that we are not taken care of. I'm not saying a $30,000 check is going to drop on everybody's lap, okay? But just having faith, having belief, finding opportunities, and knowing that you're doing things with the intention of, as Boris said, being closer to God. Because we are not put on this planet to fail. He's here to bless us, to make sure that we're blessed.
He embraced with love. He embraced with love.
Exactly. We are buried in nothing but grace and love.
Yeah.
I do like to listen to people, and I always ask them one question: what do you like about it? Those values aren't in line with my values. It's not the right opportunity for me. Maybe it is for you. And if your values can be in line with mine, I don't even need to hear anything else. After that, I just have to trust in God.
I just want to say, I think God not only gave me the opportunity to make a business, He gave me an opportunity to make a testimony about my life. And I can see now why I'm living.
So I want to thank all of you guys for being a part of this today. Next week, we are going to have special guest speaker, Mr. Eddy Petion, COO of NovaTech. Yay, who is going to be talking to us about the difference between being an employee and being an entrepreneur. Why do some of us squander while some of us find the way? And he's going to be helping us discuss that next week. So looking very forward to that. Gentlemen, I love you. Have a blessed week. Welcome everyone to today's episode of Faith in Business. And today we have a special guest, Mr. Eddy Petion. We not only share the same last name, but we share the same home, business. I think we share a couple of kids together as well, a couple of dogs and a cat. But we wanted to invite him here today to discuss the concept of being an entrepreneur versus being an employee, and the importance of managing and running your own business, which we also do together. So, Mr. Petion, welcome to our segment today.
Thank you, Reverend Cynthia, and thank you for having me on the call today. Glad to be here.
I know you are a huge fan of Robert Kiyosaki, and you have followed a lot of his teachings. And one of the things I know he talks about in particular is, entrepreneurship versus being an employee, and the type of education most of us received growing up, and how it pertains to how we build wealth or make money. And why did you feel that it was an important topic to discuss today with us?
Well, I really wanted to discuss this because it's also a reflection of my own life. And a lot of people need to understand on the difference of being an entrepreneur and being an employee. So the importance of being an entrepreneur and just being successful in life in general. The number one thing in my life, and the number one thing that I put first, is God. Because everything that you do reflect around Him. God has a plan for every single one of us, and He always delivers. We didn't always have what we have today. About 20 years ago, probably more or so, I was in college, very young age, and within my first couple of years of college, I started flunking. Why? Number one, I was surrounding myself with the wrong type of people. However, I knew that God had a plan for me. And one day I was just driving my car and saw these two military personnel coming from a laundromat. And they were very sharp. So I decided, I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to take a different direction. I dropped out of college and went straight into the Army. From there, that's when my life started changing. To discipline, what I've learned, leadership skills, there. But I was only there for about 3 years. But during my second year, I said, do I really want to keep doing this for the rest of my life? And I started thinking in my civilian life, what do I want to do? So I started educating myself and reading books. Well, one of my favorite books that I came across was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And that's when I really started learning on how to be a true entrepreneur. But things that he mentioned is that what the school system teaches us versus what you can learn on your own. So one day he actually went to his dad, who had a PhD, very successful doctor. And he asked his dad straight up, he said, I want to learn about money. How do you make money? And he was only about 9 years old. And his dad looked at him and said, what are you talking about? You're supposed to just go to school and get a job. He said, well, what do you mean? He's like, because that's what we do. We go to school and you get a job. And he's like, no, I want to know how to make money. He's like, well, that's not what they teach you in school. In school, they're going to teach you how to get a career so you can get a job in life. Well, how do I know about money? It's like, well, you will earn a paycheck. But he said, I don't want a paycheck. I want to build my own business. And that's when his dad actually put them in the right direction. Said, look, I can't show you how to make money, but you can go to your friend's dad and ask him, because his friend's dad was a very successful entrepreneur. So he went to his friend's dad, and sure, he asked him, he said, and his rich dad told him, look, only entrepreneur knows how to make money. There's a difference between being an entrepreneur and being an employee, because entrepreneurs work for free. Employees work for paycheck. An employee does not need to know about money. An entrepreneur is always learning how to make money so they can make their money work for them. You're not getting paid because you're learning how to make money. And when you have a paycheck, you become an employee. After I got out of the military, I said, I want to be self-employed. But I started in banking. But I'm working my 9 to 5, then I'm like, well, there's a problem here because I'm an employee. I don't want to be an employee. So when I got out of the military and I entered the corporate world, working for a major banking firm, JP Morgan Chase, and I look back to myself and reflect back to all the books that I've read, I said, that's really not where I want to be. And I had to change that. Sometimes in life, you have to take risk. Because without risk, without failure, there is no success. And at that point, I took the risk of leaving a 9 to 5 with a salary job, with a baby expected on the way, and everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. So I went into the mortgage industry, learned it. I wasn't getting paid for months because you know what I was doing? I was learning. I was learning what they didn't teach us in school. And a real teacher can be your bankers, your accountants, your lawyers. And I quickly learned the business, and within 6 months of being with that firm, I was the top loan officer. And I made more money in my first 6 months than I ever made in like the past 2 years. So at that point, I had the taste for it. And I quickly changed. I kept taking chances, have dreams, have life goals, monthly goals, daily goals, and work towards those goals every day until you accomplish them. Not every goal that you have set will be accomplished, because you will run into failures. You will lose, but don't let that stop you. Just keep your dream in mind and set your goals. And every step of the way, like I said, God always has a plan and is always with you. You know, being an entrepreneur and being successful, you can make all the money in the world that you want, but that's not so important in life. It's always important to be grateful. You know, thank God for grace. Nothing in life is impossible. So Robert Kiyosaki went to his regular dad, his PhD dad, I call him, and said, well, if he asked him to purchase something or buy something, a nice car, something expensive, his dad will tell him, what do you think? I can't afford it. I'm not made out of money. But when he went to his rich dad, he gave him a different answer. He didn't say, I can't afford it. He didn't say, I can't do it. He opened it with a question. He said, well, how do I do it? A question opens the mind, and a statement closes the mind. So always be open-minded, be grateful, put God first.
Awesome.
When you make a statement, you close a mind, but when you ask a question, you open a mind. I think that has to be one of the most powerful things that I've ever heard. Thank you, Mr. Petion, for your outlook, entrepreneurship, and setting goals. Guys, I'd like to open the floor to ask any questions.
Thank you very much for this eye-opening, snippet of what probably is in store. My contribution is that it's the issue of setting goals is so critical that for you to be able to see that I'm actually progressing, you need to set those goals. Otherwise, if you just live life anyhow, any direction goes, any success or failure is unnoticed because you really don't have a set goal. So yes, I think I like the idea of making sure that you have goals, you have dreams, you have aspirations, and if and to make them even more realistic, writing them down, ticking them off. It gives you this energy to set new goals as you begin to tick and realize that I thought I could not do this, but I did it. So it opens you even more for greater things to come. Thank you very much.
As far as like an entrepreneur and versus the employee, a lot of people will say, okay, entrepreneur. I went out, like for instance, me, I go out and I open up a company, which my company here is Long Island Bottles and Cans. Right now, I'm nothing more than a bona fide hire employee because I do more work now than I did when I was just working for the company. What would you say for a person like me without anything to go and do to become an entrepreneur?
Entrepreneurs are probably the hardest working people ever. You have the employee, they do their job from 9 to 5, and after that, they close the books, they're done. An entrepreneur, you're working 24/7 because you know what? You're working on your dream. You're not working to make somebody else's dream come true. And if you still have that goal and you have that mindset, you want to reach that goal, it will take hard work. Sometimes you'll work for years without a paycheck. So don't go start as an entrepreneur and say you want everything to happen overnight. If you want to build something great, you have to spend the time to learn how to make money. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yes, you're right. Because I got my business. A lot of people would quit with my business and the employees, and I'm not even receiving no money. I'm coming home, the wife's looking at me, well, where's the money? You gotta where's the money?
That's our job, Vincent.
You know, I say it's coming. It's like when you first dig the well and you're pumping, nothing's coming out. You tend to want to give up, but you keep pumping and you keep pumping, and then all of a sudden now there's a drip, and that one little drip, it can change your whole life, because if you're starving for water, that one little drip that taste of it will make you continue to pump, because you know there's something down there for you, and once it starts to flow, you don't have to pump as much anymore, but you do have to continue to pump.
There's a lot of work that goes into it up front that you don't immediately see the results of, but once the results come in, it's like a avalanche effect, right? It just rolls and rolls, and you have to do less work the more you go along, but are people willing to do that upfront work initially? That's a great message. Don't quit too soon. Is what you're doing working? And if not, take a look at it and find another way to make it work. It doesn't necessarily mean quit it. Right.
I like the way you put it, that you have to review and check where have you gone wrong, because sometimes the dream is possible. And remember, the greater the dream, or the greater the rewards thereof, the tougher the journey. But if you know that God has put this thing in you, the enemy is also trying to stop it. So if you give up too soon or without doing the necessary, but it's important that if you have the conviction that this is your dream, this is what you need to do, there will always be your role in that, rather than quit. The dreams that we get are always bigger than us. They transcend our time. But it's important for us to know that we have a role to play. We play it perfectly. We may not be the ones to produce the outcome, but we are setting the foundation for the greater outcome.
For every new level, there's a new devil. So every time you reach a new goal, there's going to be a new devil chasing you to try to remove that from you. So thank you for that. Boris, we do not want to forget our infamous doctor here from Peru. Thank you for being here with us also this morning.
Thank you for inviting me today. And yeah, I want to say hi to Miss Eddy. Yes, for me, the difference between employee and entrepreneur is fate. If you wanna depend on the human, or you want to depend on God, I think depending of human, normally you're gonna be in status quo where you think you have your life solute, but it's not real, because you're always gonna depend on what somebody is giving you the pain every month. But if you fight by faith, we're gonna say that way. if you live by faith, if you depend on God, I think the entrepreneur is going to be successful. What do you think, Mr. Petion?
I 100% agree with you. You put God first in your life, everything you will be able to accomplish it.
Yeah.
I love to work with God in my business and my entrepreneur. I think this is a more secure way to go and do whatever God wants for you. Always going to be the good for you and your family.
The most secure way is God. Thank you.
Yes.
And one of the things you just mentioned, listening to other people and the negativity in life is surround yourself with the people that you want to be. So if you rely on God and positive energy, people with positive energy, then they will help uplift you.
When God is guiding our life, an entrepreneur or whatever you want to do with him, and then he's going to bring those people who's going to help you to do for other people also, helping them, you know, that's amazing. That's amazing.
That's beautiful. I have a question myself, Mr. Petion. One of the things that you mentioned very early on in the conversation, you mentioned something about it wasn't God's plan for you. Did you know very early on what God's plan was for you? Did you have a feeling all along that this is something that you were not supposed to be doing, or you know, how did that play in? That
plan will come to you. But my ultimate goal was how to learn to work for myself and how to learn to be an entrepreneur and how to learn how to make money work for me instead of working for money. Don't just rely on you, it's the man above.
So one of the things we do experience as entrepreneurs ourselves is a period of drought, essentially. And that drought can last a lot longer sometimes than we expect. And when we do have partners or we have family members or friends who don't see the value of educating ourselves without getting paid or working without getting paid, you know, how do you keep yourself focused on that end goal so that these other things or other people who think, you know, working for that paycheck should be your end goal versus what you believe it is?
A lot of people that work for a paycheck, they always feel secure. Like they said, the government is going to take care of them. They will have their retirement. However, things also happen in life. You don't give up. You have to adapt in life. You have to adapt. I'm like a chameleon. You can drop me anywhere, I change colors. Why? Because I'm being adaptive to my environment.
Sometimes the entrepreneur won't gonna be successful. It's just going the way where everybody goes. Sometimes you have to do something which God said, but without thinking logically.
To me, being an entrepreneur, like Mr. Petion says, requires not being fearful, okay, and not being afraid to take risks. Money will come, money will go. You know, as he indicated, you know, we invested in 401ks, housing market. These things crash. They're not as reliable as people think they are. Neither, you know, is a job. And as an entrepreneur, there's a level of nervousness that may come along with it because you're venturing out into something that most people aren't willing or have the confidence to venture out into. So it requires a great deal of faith and confidence, you know, but it's one of those things I feel like once you learn it, no one can take it away from you. All right, I don't know anybody who runs their own business who decides, you know what, I'm just gonna go back to a 9-to-5. If their business doesn't work out, they find another business to build on. They find something else to build on, because once you realize the freedom, yes, there's a lot of stress, a lot of work that comes with running and operating your own business, but it also gives you a level of freedom to know that you don't have to rely on something else. You rely on yourself, you rely on God. It is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. That's in the Bible, Deuteronomy 8:18. We talk about it all the time. Yes. But once you know how to do these things, guys, no one's going to take that skill away from you. It's like swimming. It's like riding a bike. Once you know how to do it, you'll always know how to do it. It doesn't matter if money comes and goes. It doesn't matter if you're successful one minute and you're down the rabbit hole the next minute. You know how to build it up. You know how to do it over again. To me, I think that is the ultimate goal or the ultimate benefit or reward of being an entrepreneur, someone who is an entrepreneur will never have to worry about money. Okay, because you will always know how to sustain yourself, because you know how to take risks. And it's okay if you're in the building process of learning these things. Those are life skills, in my opinion. Learning how to swim is a life skill. You don't ever want to get thrown into a pool of water and not know how to get out of it. You know, Mr. Petion made a very good point in the beginning of this. You know, I'm a big fan of formal education. I'm not a big fan of paying for it. I think it should be free. If you're not in a formal education system or a structure, look around you. Your parents are your instructors. Your accountant is your instructor. Your doctor is your instructor. Your mechanic is your instructor. There are people around you every day that have skills that you don't necessarily have. They have knowledge that you haven't yet gained. And it's the importance of networking also, either informally or formally, but forging relationships where you can learn from others who can also benefit from learning from you. And that's where your mental database is going to be built off of. And that's what's going to give you the skills and the knowledge and the confidence to be able to build the lifestyle that you need.
To me, an entrepreneur is a relationship builder. Sometimes people will sit in their living room every day, sit on that couch, they're watching TV, but they're praying to God every day to show me the way. Show me the way, but they never step foot outside that door to go find the way. If you're walking, you will find the way.
The path isn't always visible. It's a very narrow path. And yes,
you have to be in tune with God radio. You have to go close. You're never gonna hear your voice.
Yeah, sometimes you're just on the wrong station. You gotta change stations and tune in and listen.
Go closer to Him, yes.
And be willing to take action.
I tell people all the time, listen, you're not a rock, just move. It's not
that's an excellent point. Well, Mr. Petion, I do want to thank you tremendously for joining with us today. All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining us today. In our next episode, we want to discuss the importance our relationships play in our walk in faith and business and the challenges that we face as families, as couples and relationships. Sometimes it's our biggest support and sometimes it's our biggest challenge. Thank you guys for joining us today. Till next time, have a good night. Welcome everyone. This is the Reverend CEO, aka Cynthia Petion, wife, mother, business coach, mentor, and evangelist. And I want to thank you for joining us today. So with us this morning, we have Patricia Thomas, also known as Pat Thomas, beautiful wife of Mr. Vincent Thomas here. And back with us today is Mr. Petion, Mr. Eddy Petion, my husband and business partner as well. So welcome back with us this morning. Thank you for joining us again today. Today's topic, guys, we wanted to talk about in this segment the importance of support, partnership, who we have in our circles, and who maybe we shouldn't have in our circles. When you are on a path of both faith and business, I think it's extremely important to be mindful of who it is that we have encouraging us, supporting us, acting as partners. Pat, thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind. If you can just give us a little bit of background, how you and Vincent in particular work together, because I know you guys, I met you guys a few years ago, and we've been friends and working together ever since. You guys have a very special and dynamic relationship, I think, because you are not only married, but you also work businesses together. And if you can just maybe start off with maybe how you guys met or how long you've been together or working together, just so we learn a little bit about you guys.
Well, Vincent and I have been together for almost 18 years now. And, you know, we didn't grow up together. We were older when we got married or what have you. So, you know, we were pretty much established in our own right. We both had jobs and, you know, we did the whole job routine. You know, he worked, I worked. And then the economy kind of flipped on us back, I think maybe it was 2008 or so. I had to hold things down while he reestablished what he needed to do as far as employment was concerned. And while he was at home, he started looking into businesses. I'm like, well, what are you doing? He was like, oh, you know, I'm looking into this, I'm looking into that. And I'm like, okay, you know, and it just moved along. And then when he finally decided to share with me after he had done all his research and everything, I'm like, okay, let's see if we can work things out. I saw that, and I learned through the years that the way of life is to own your own, own your own, especially as far as business is concerned, and to be accountable to yourself. And that, so we had that like-mindedness. And, you know, we realized that, you know, nobody's going to give you anything. You have to go out and get it yourself and try to do what you can to establish your own wealth. The bottom line is we're partners. Pretty much everything he wants to do, I always support it. At first, I don't always see the vision, so I just sit back and relax on the edge to see if it's gonna work out. And, you know, but I always support him, and whatever he wants, whatever, if I want to do, he supports me as well, because we just have to be a team at this. And it's working for us.
I love what you just said, relaxing on the edge. I think that needs to be like coin phrase, relaxing on the edge. So Boris, I know your wife isn't here with us today, but I often see her walking around in the background when we're doing our discussions and our meetings and stuff like that. Do you want to share a little information about you guys and how you work, and whether or not she does participate in your businesses, or how that works out for you?
Yes, well, I got married 3 years ago again with Karina Cuentas. She's an accountant. She's a master's degree in personal development. And what I do, or what I think always, is to consult with somebody who can think different than me. And she is that kind of woman, always. And then when I started business by myself 5 years ago, and then I start thinking I never more are gonna go to work for somebody. What I said is I have to do by myself my own business, because I have the capacity. Even I get my degree, I have to do something by myself. What I did even when I get my doctorate. But when I knew Karina, I said, she is a person who, she was administrating a college here in Peru. And when I talked to her, I said, listen, I'm gonna do this business. And then she said, look for it. And then when you have all the information, we can talk. Not always I say yes, what she says, but we talk each other, and we sit down here. She has her chair close to my chair, and then we can talk together. When we are partners always, and then which is good for me, because when sometimes I'm so busy in my office, I can see she put here water or juice or sandwich, and she's always attending whatever I need, which is really, really important for me, because I feel supported for her. You know, she's joined me everything what I do, which is really a blessing for me from God.
You know, we've been together around the same time as Pat and Vincent, 18 years. Both said something, the same thing, but just different context. Partners, team. And it's important to have good partners and good teammates when you are in business. And even of faith, I don't think you necessarily have to be the same faith as somebody else that you're with or married to, but I think it's important to share a lot of the same values or outlook in life, because it can be very disruptive otherwise, right? What do you think?
No, absolutely. It's really been an amazing journey for her to be part of my life, that I would say. I say about 18 years ago, I was fresh out of the military, trying to transition to the civilian life. When I met her, she was more stable than I, a lot more. You know, she already had her career going. She had a lot of experience, more life experience than I had. But she basically not only complete me at that moment, but I remember when we first met, a lot of people looked at me and say, "You guys probably not even gonna last for 3 months," because they're like, she's gonna, how they say, you're gonna chew me.
I'm gonna eat you up.
She's gonna eat me up and chew me and spit me out.
Yeah, something like that.
But you know what? I love challenges. So that alone motivated me, you know, to do more. But one thing I want to tell you guys is that you always want to find somebody who's going to build with you, and not taking from you, but build with you. Throughout the whole thing, what's important is that it's the amount of support that you receive from your partner. All right, you can try to do everything on your own, but doesn't mean that you can accomplish everything on your own. But that emotional support is the key to success.
If you have a good partnership, it makes the burden easier to carry, that you have somebody that can help balance that along with you. Vincent, what are your thoughts on running businesses alone and trying to start up traditional businesses on your own versus having a partnership?
Trying to do it on your own is really hard. You're carrying everything, the burden and all this on your own, and it's frustrating. But once you involve the other partner, you can get feedback from her or him, and it makes things much easier. I had to, like many people, search for something else to come into the house. It was hard, and I didn't let her know, I guess because of, I guess you would call it man pride, or that Marine in me saying, I can do it myself, It didn't work out that way. It was very hard, but I didn't give up. That's one thing. I didn't give up. I continued to search. She became supportive. Once you allow her or him into your life and let you both make the decisions, then everything starts to run smooth, like a well-oiled machine.
And I just want to say that something, you know, I would pray about things to get better, this and that and the other. One day, you know, I just said, well, let's go to church. But I just feel that delving into prayer and faith was what helped us get through those trying times. And it gave off enough energy for Vincent to have that strength to pursue the businesses and get into what he needed to get into to get over that hump. So faith was a big part of us getting where we are today.
But you said something very important earlier, Pat, that I wanted to readdress, and that is accountability and having to be accountable for yourself. And I think it all, you know, really starts there, and putting our faith where people wouldn't traditionally put it. People want to put it in someone else. They want to put it in the market. They want to put it in a job. But ultimately, if your faith is on God, then as you said or indicated, that it takes some of that stress and heaviness off of you so that you can feel lighter and be able to proceed with your work. So I believe wholeheartedly in partnerships. I think our first partnership has to be with God and with ourselves before it can be with anyone else. And then you have to be very mindful about who it is that you start to let into those circles, so that they're not being toxic and destroying either your faith or your vision, because not everybody's here with the same vision or the same mission, right, guys? Mm-hmm. Everybody's here to do something special and spectacular. We're not here to be mediocre. Let's talk about removing toxic people from our lives. I know you and I, Eddie, in the beginning stages in particular, I'm somebody, for some reason, I've always been very discerning. Somebody can pretty much walk in the door and I'll be like, yes, like, don't like. And everybody was just like, oh, she's just mean. you know, but for some reason, you know, just some people, they just didn't mesh well with my aura or my spirit. So Eddy's somebody who's always been very social and friendly, and I know we bump heads a lot in the beginning of our relationship as far as who to, you know, have around, and it came across as just a bossy wife telling you not to hang out with your friends.
No, absolutely. And you, like Cynthia's saying, you do have to be careful who you surround yourself with. You don't have to have hate for them. You don't have to be wish them ill. You don't have to be evil-like about it. You just have to know that you choose to spend less time around these toxic people. And they can be family, they can be friends, they can be business partners.
You know, this is our mission and what drew us together as a team to be here together. Our love of God, our love of business and people, and wanting to help people.
If you have a focus, if you have a goal very defined, and then you continue, or you can start this business. If not, you're gonna lose time. You have to be really sincere by yourself if you want to start this business, because this business is going to make you really happy or going to be you very worried about your life. You know, you have to be very careful what you're going to do.
I think one of the caveats also, or downfalls, when you have an entrepreneur-like mindset or you're in these type of businesses, that it's difficult for people to understand, is that failure comes with everything. Mm-hmm. Right? Failure comes with success. It comes with building relationships. It comes with building knowledge. It comes with building a business. Money's like a stream. There are times where the stream is flowing real rough and it's overabundant and it's flowing over. And then there's times where it dries out a little bit. All right. But it's always going to flow. Making money is very similar to riding a bike or learning how to swim. It's one of those things that once you know how to do it, you're always going to know how to do it. I don't worry about money. All right. The Bible doesn't teach us to worry about money. They tell you if God can take care of the birds in the skies and the flowers in the grass, you can most certainly be well taken care of. And I think it's important for people to take the emphasis over what they think they're lacking and just understand what it is that they have, and that there's always an ability to have abundance and have more. So if you have the ability to produce income, you'll always have the ability to produce income. And when you're with people in business and a business fails, for example, people tend to get upset and then they don't want to reinvest, or they don't want to build a new one. They don't want to try again. And that's where having the right minded people around you becomes so important. Having the wrong people around you can kill those dreams. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it's something you could have been successful in and something you could have built bigger than anything anyone could have imagined. All of a sudden, the vision gets killed. I don't think anybody goes into business or goes into faith or goes into anything with the intention of it failing and dropping the idea altogether. I think this is the part of it that they need to kind of learn to adopt. And not to worry and not to fear not having income. We all went through the 2008 disaster. There can't be this overwhelming fear that comes around with it.
Sometimes, how many times you run into people that say, oh, man, I used to be so successful. But now they're not doing anything with their life. They keep talking, going back in the past, how great they used to do. If you've done it before, you should be able to do it better this time.
Do it again.
You know, just keep doing it again.
The thing is, when you have a couple, you know, they want to come in or whatever, they have to have a strong relationship and good communication between one another. That's the main thing. When it comes to finances, it's not always my money, your money. When you're a couple or when you're married, it's really our money. What's going to happen with what we do to take care of our household? They're not there yet, or they don't deal with one another like that. I can see where a failed venture would cause a problem. But if they were communicating and had a good relationship when it came to money, then if something happens, then they could recover. Because when you fall down, you have to get up. You have to get up. You don't stay down.
Yes, talking about communication, the bad thing in communication, especially with the marriage, is when you propose something and your wife or your husband doesn't agree with that. And then he said, well, if you want, you do it. But You know, that bad sometimes is really hard to deal in at home. If there is something which is not good, I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna be with you. I'm not agree, but I know your impetus. I know you want to do this. I can see you're encouraged. I think you are focused. I like that. Do it. But if something goes wrong, just tell me. I'm gonna help you. That's a good communication, because the successful is not what you get at the end of the path. The successful is what you get in the next second of your life.
Wow. You know, sometimes people don't realize, whether it's our business partners or our life partners, how the lack of energy or lack of support that they're providing is actually inadvertently somehow causing our failure.
Directly.
You know, sometimes I wish people just understood, yes, we have the support of God, we have our own will to do things, and we have to have our own strength and accountability, but we don't live secluded. We don't live in a world or an island that doesn't have other people. People were put on this earth together, and there were marriages and partnerships since before time, okay, for a reason. And I don't know that when you're with somebody and they're trying to do something and you don't necessarily agree with it, how, you don't necessarily have to agree with everything you guys do together, but having that lack of support to say, do it on your own and then show it to me when you're successful, for example, they don't always understand how your unwillingness to just even encourage me a little is somehow having the total opposite and reverse effect. And it's taking away from something that could be powerful.
You know what? Sometimes you don't have to say too much. You just have to go and say, I'm going to be with you. That's all.
There's a lot of things that I've done, and I failed at it. But at the same time, she's supportive. And it sticks in my head. And I know, I guess a lot of other couples, not just only myself and us, but I always say that if it took you 10 years to become a millionaire, was it worth it? And it works out. And having faith in the Lord and thanking him each every day, even for the failure, because with the failures comes success.
It's support. Support equals strength, which is Philippians 4:13 that says, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And when you think, what I pick out of that verse is, who strengthens me? Yes, all God is bigger than everyone here. However, if you do have that partner that strengthens you, you guys together can do everything.
I treat faith very much the way I do business. It's something that I want to share with everyone. And if you're willing to listen, we can have a conversation. And if
Yes.
you're not, come back to me when you're open about it, because that's when the ideas start to flow, being the odd child out. Keep an eye out for that odd person out. You don't want to follow the masses.
Yep. And me and my wife is one thing that we are very different when it comes to how we do things, but we have the same goal and then the same end goal and the same vision.
It's important, to have well-rounded relationships. And it's the ability to be able to form these relationships, to be stronger, like, Boris said, or to have great communication, like Pat said, and to bring all these things together so that together we build powerhouses. What did I tell you yesterday, Vincent, when we were talking? We're what? We're lions.
Yes.
And lions don't make excuses. Lions don't explain to people why they are kings at what they do. They just do it. And they keep what? They keep a pride around themselves, what they call a pride, which is all the lionesses and everything that back them up. They don't keep other lions or lionesses around them that are looking to destroy them. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I want to thank Mr. Petion for being our guest here again today. Miss Patricia, the beautiful Pat Thomas, thank you for joining us as well today. Your input was greatly appreciated. We'd love to have you back some other time. I just want to wish everybody an incredibly blessed week, and know that we are here to support everybody and share our mission, and hope that you join us next time on Faith in Business.